Hello, everybody. We are back again with another edition of Mellow Musings. Ishtiaq, please keep letting the people in. There are people in the waiting room, yeah. So this is the 16th edition of Mellow Musings. We meet periodically, usually once in a fortnight, and we try and get a speaker who's going to engage you with a lot of interesting stuff. Today's speaker also is going to tell us something about a text that we may not know too much about. By this time, I think all of us are familiar with what Mellow is and what Mellow Musings is all about. So I won't repeat it, but of course, if you want me to repeat it, I'll be just too happy. Maybe towards the end, if anybody wants to know about Mellow Musings or Mellow, we can talk about it later. We are going to have Professor Debarati Bandyopadhyay speaking to us on a text by Rabindranath Tagore, The Red Oleanders. And frankly, I do not have expertise on Tagore, and I did not know about this text, but I did read up a little, and I was pleasantly surprised to see the theme that it is built on. So we have Debarati Bandyopadhyay, and Debarati, you can switch on your video, please. Yeah. So we have Debarati. How are you today?
Fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you should have some red oleanders in the background. So Debarati is a senior professor at the University of Shanti Niketan in the Department of English and DOMIL. What does DOMIL stand for?
It is no longer DOMIL. Actually it stood for the Department of English and Other Modern European Languages, which means it was not only English but also French, German, Russian, and Italian. But
That's
now we are
that's how
the
we
Department
remember
of
it. When
English.
we went there, it was DOMIL.
Yes, it was DOMIL.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Debarati has been with Mellow for a long time, and she is one of our prized members. She's always there. She's in the governing body, and she's a great support. Whenever we need someone to help us, support us, well, she is one of those who's always willing. And of course, she has a reputation that one can feel envious about. She's been going places, giving lectures, publishing. We've been abroad on several assignments. And here she is today, she's going to talk about Rabindranath Tagore's Red Oleander. So before we begin, would you like to say something to our audience? And we have approximately 31 people logged in now. Some are still coming in. And those who have logged in, I have a request. Whenever you get the invitation to these Mellow Musings, please circulate it widely. Because you see, we work at these sessions. We get the best of people to converse with you, to tell you about something that, that is of interest to students of literature, scholars of literature, and also of general interest. So please circulate it as widely as you can. Share it on your Facebook, and after the session is over, you can delete it. So you don't have to clutter up, your Facebook page with things that you are not particularly interested in and things that have already happened. So please share it, circulate it on social media. And if you're on Insta or Twitter or whatever X, then please share it there also. We want people to join in. And the audience that we have, whenever we have these sessions, the audience that we have is a very civilized audience. They're the kind who don't cause any trouble. Links are made public. We get people who come to listen and come to appreciate whatever is being discussed. All right. So today we have Debarati, and before we go further, I would like to tell you that 2 weeks later will be the 10th of September. We are going to have this lady who's a writer. We are going to have a discussion with a writer, meet the author. Is she here? Sneha, are you here? Sneha Mandal, are you here? Well, she said she would be here. And she's going to meet us on the 10th of September. After the 10th of September, we will be busy with the conference in Dharamshala. So we are going to take a break for 1 week. for one fortnight, right? And we plan to meet again in October. In October, we want to meet on the 1st or the 2nd. I think we'll meet on the 2nd. It's a holiday and nobody's going to have any excuse to saying that they got late in college or the university or whatever, right? So 2nd October we'll meet, and I want Pradipto. Pradipto, are you here? Well, if anyone is in touch with Pradipto, just tell him that he cannot go scot-free. He has to give a talk on the 2nd of October. Who is going to tell him? Who is in touch with Pradipto? Pradipto is one of our members, and he gets the invite. And well, if nobody else is in touch with him, then somebody please remind me. I will get after him. So on the 2nd, we are going to have Pradipto, and listen to this. On the 15th of October, we are talking about October now. On the 15th of October, we are going to have a panel discussion on, yes, you know what? On the Great Gatsby. You see, this is the centenary year of the Great Gatsby, and we haven't done anything about it. So we are going to have a panel discussion, and we have 5 or 6 speakers lined up. Sunena, are you here? Sunena. She'll join in, I think. Sunena. I can't see her. Anyway, so Sunena has the list and I have the list too. But we have about 5 or 6 speakers lined up. And if any of you logged in here are keen on speaking on the Great Gatsby or on the age or on F. Scott Fitzgerald, please volunteer. It'll be nice. Instead of 1 hour, we'll have 2 hours. 15th September, we'll have 2 hours. We'll start an hour early, and I'm sure it's going to be very nice. And after all, the centenary year of a text as important as the Great Gatsby does deserve this kind of importance. So today we have a small text. I think it's a small text. Am I right, Debarati? It's a play.
It's a play. It's a one-act play.
It's a one-act play. So we have a small text and we have one speaker, but that speaker is going to enlighten us on what red oleanders are all about. Oleanders, flowers, they always evoke certain images, certain emotions in us. And red oleanders, well, let's see what red oleanders are all about. So I'm going to hand over the proceedings to Debarati, and I'm going to go off the video. Debarati, all yours. If you want anybody to come onto the screen, if you have any question or anything that you want us to answer, well, we are very much here. So over to you, Debarati. Where are you?
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute. This is about, I'm going to, yes. Am I audible? Yes. I'm going to talk a little about Red Oleanders, which is a one-act play, as I just mentioned. And in this play, we find that this is the centenary of the English version of this play. Now, this particular text has a very curious kind of a publication history. Tagore started writing this play in 1923 in Shillong. What happened was that he kept on changing the play at least 10 times in Bangla. And the result was that in 1924, this was serialized. This was published in a magazine called Probashi. But at that point of time, it was not called Rakto Korobi. Rakto Korobi is the Bangla name for red oleanders. It's a literal translation. So Rakto Korobi in Bangla came out in 1926 in book form. But before that, Macmillan from London had already published Tagore's English version of the same play, Red Oleanders. And therefore, we are in 2025 looking back at the 1925 one-act play. Now, he wrote this play, actually, the setting is in Yakshapuri. Now, Yaksha is a term that we are perhaps aware of. It reminds us of Kubera. It reminds us of the kind of riches that we might find underground. And this particular Yakshapuri or Yaksha town is a place where there are gold miners, and there is a king who is not seen. He is only heard as a disembodied voice for a very long time. The result is that it adds to the mystery, it adds to the awe inspiring presence of the king in so many ways, because there is an iron lattice behind which the king lurks. And I use the word lurks because this is a very sinister kind of a situation for most of the people over there. The miners are reduced to numbers, they don't have any names. If they had names earlier in their lives, when they were farmers, possibly, when they were rural people, possibly, once they had arrived or once they had been brought to this place as a captive labor force, they stopped having their names known to anybody. They were just known as 69 NG or 43 GF or something like that. So, yes, that is one problem with the place. The other problem is there is a governor in the name of the king. The the first governor, the senior-most governor, the second governor, the third governor. There is a hierarchy, and they keep on ruling over this place in the name of the king. And what does the king do then? The king is behind his lattice and nobody can see him. Some people get to hear him. And Nondini, we will find Nondini come in a moment, and Nondini will be one of those people, lucky people or unlucky people, we will find out. Now, what happens is that the king has a reputation of destroying lives in a way. Suppose he doesn't like somebody, maybe it is a voice of protest, maybe it is something that has been told to him about a person, and he doesn't quite digest it. And then whatever he finds unpalatable, be it something or a person, he destroys that person. Is very powerful. And with his bare hands, he can do a lot of things. So it is in this situation that suddenly we find a girl called Nondini come in, and Nondini has come from the rural areas, and we don't know. This is also left a mystery in the play. Why did the king or anybody else over there bring her into this very, very, shall I say, this Yaksha town, the Yakshapuri, where everything is stratified to a great extent. And she comes in, and this is like a breath of fresh air for some people. Some people consider her to be uh, like a witch. They even think of killing her because they are afraid of her, because they don't know how to deal with her. She's so beautiful and so different from them that they don't know how to take care of themselves in front of her. And therefore, they suspect her of having some powers which an ordinary human being might not have. So, this is the background of the play. And it happens that when we are talking about the miners have to keep on working till they perish in the Yakshapuri. And the king, as I said, was very powerful, and he would, through the governors, actually, the governors were making these people work in such a way on a daily basis that the maximum amount of work could be extracted from them. Now, when in this soul killing environment, our Nondini comes in, what happens is that we find at the beginning of the play not just Nondini, but uh, an adolescent boy called Kishore. And Kishore in Bangla literally translates into adolescent in English. So Kishore is there, and he is bringing red oleanders to her. And this is significant because Nandini is very much afraid about Kishore's welfare. She keeps on saying that, why don't you uh, permit me to get the red oleanders for myself? Because you are risking your height, so to say, You might be whipped, you might be punished, you might be killed. There are so many kinds of problems already. And Kishore says, no, I am not afraid of any cruel punishment. You said you must have read Oleanders. I'm glad they're hard to find in this place. Only one tree I discovered after days of search, nearly hidden away behind a rubbish heap. And there are so many critics who have talked about this rubbish heap and the single red oleanders tree behind the rubbish heap, which means that if you think of materialism, then this Yakshapuri or Yaksha town has accumulated so much of material gold, actually, that if, in a metaphorical sense, material reality is about a kind of rubbish, it is moving beyond this material reality that you can think of reaching the red oleanders. Again, that would have a kind of a metaphorical presence as well. Now, in this situation, when, as I said, Nandini was trying to say that why wouldn't she go and find out about the red oleanders, get them for herself, etc. Kishore said, don't be cruel, Nandini. This tree is my one secret which none shall know. From now, I shall have the flowers which you will have to take from my hands only. And Nandini says, but it breaks my heart to know that those brutes punished you. And Kishore says, and this is very significant, it makes these flowers all the more preciously mine. They come from my pain. So already the color red. Now, oleanders can be white in color, one variety. The other is red in color. And in the Bangla version, Rokto Korobi, Rokto refers to blood. So the Bangla version makes it very clear the relationship between the flowers. The flowers are not just about the aesthetic sense that Nandini might have had because of her rural background or anything like that. It is definitely about the red that is in our blood. Red oleanders are no longer mere flowers. It is no longer about loving nature. It is no longer just a mark of mere love only. It is now the kind of love that Nandini has for nature. That is the first step through which we have to pass in order to try to understand why the whole action is being inspired by her. Because of her presence, the whole thing is happening in a way. Now, in this play, we just don't have Kishore's adolescent adoration of Nandini. We also have a very senior person who is a professor. Now, the king has got hold of two very important people. One is a physicist, the other is an antiquarian. So, a combination of the past, present, future kind of continuities being maintained over there in terms of not only the pursuit of material power, but also power in other realms as well. For example, the intellectual realm. The king wants to know everything and control everything, possibly. We wonder. And when this professor speaks to her, Nandini says, why do you need me? And the professor says, if you talk of need, look over here. You will see our tunnel diggers creeping out of the holes like worms with loads of things of need. In this Yaksha town, all our treasure is of gold, the secret treasure of the dust. But the gold which is you, beautiful one, is not of the dust, but of the light, which never owns any bond. So, what comes from the bowels of darkness, the gold? What comes when the bowels of Mother Earth is ravaged is dead gold. It looks good. It has a lot of price fetched. But at the same time, there is another kind of beauty for which some of these Aksha town people are craving. And the professor seems to be one of them. Now, Nandini doesn't realize why they're reacting to her presence in so many different ways. And the professor tries to tell her that, of course, I am trying to talk about not a kind of artificial, sophisticated society. I am trying to talk about a place where there are things in nature. And he tries to say that you are beautiful to us. You are so very necessary, if you want to use the word need or necessary at all. You're so very necessary to our existence, because when there is sunlight gleaming through the forest thickets, it is hardly surprising. But the same light, if it breaks through a cracked wall, that is unexpected, and therefore it awakens people to its beauty. Now, I have a theory that this is related to our concept of defamiliarization as well. These people know what to expect from other people in the Yaksha town, even from the king, perhaps, as a very powerful and cruel king. But the other aspects of life, the other aspects of nature, which are in the process of forgetting by this time, and they're being made to forget about it, perhaps Nondini gives them a glimpse into that kind of a life all over again. So, in this artificial materialistic culture of flowers signifying the simple presence of nature, that is so rare that everybody in the society, from the young minor Kishore to the professor, and later we will find even the king and his governors, all of them respond to Nondini, because Nondini reminds them of beauty, freshness, purity, nature, something that has not already been destroyed by man. In her turn, Nondini accuses the materialistic culture of the Yaksha town very powerfully. She says, it puzzles me to see a whole city thrusting its head underground, groping with both hands in the dark. You dig tunnels in the underground and come out with dead wealth that the earth has kept buried for ages past. And the professor says that the gin of that dead wealth we invoke. If we manage to enslave him, the whole world lies at our feet. Perhaps the king is looking for this kind of a monopoly in terms of power, the power that he wants to exercise over everything and everybody. Now, uh, the simple villagers are now lost in this gold miners. Not that they derive any benefit from it. It all goes into the royal coffers, and the king plays with the bars of gold, so to say. He is so proverbially powerful that, in terms of physical strength, he actually plays with the gold ingots and creates kinds of formations with them behind his iron lattice. And the king also is very curious about Nondini. Now, it is possible that he himself has brought her into this place. It is possible that Nondini, for some other reason, has been brought over by somebody. But Nondini speaks to the king and tries to tell him of the world outside, of the world of nature, the rural areas, etc., etc. And she keeps on singing, and this song acts as the refrain in the entire play. And in Bangla, it is about the kind of season when the corn, the crops have ripened, and that is when the people are being called outside. And in English, it is, "Hark, 'tis autumn calling, come, oh come away. Her basket is heaped with corn." And Nondini comments on the song as she is singing it as well. She says, "Don't you see the September sun is spreading the glow of the ripening corn in the air?" And then she continues with the song again. "Drunken with the perfumed wine of wind, the sky seems to sway among the shivering corn, its sunlight trailing on the fields." And she again comments, "Do you think that the bars of gold, the blocks of gold, can ever answer to the swinging rhythm of your arms in the same way as the fields of corn? Are you not afraid, king, of handling the dead wealth of the earth?" And the voice, that is the voice of the king, says, "What is there to fear?" And Nandini says, "The living heart of the earth gives itself up in love and life and beauty, but when you rend its bosom and disturb the dead, you bring up with your booty the curse of the blind, the hard, the cruel, the envious. Don't you see everybody here is either angry or suspicious or afraid? Is that a life, actually, she means? And Nandini's whole being revolts against this kind of a treatment meted out to Mother Earth for the gold. And she is thinking of nature in terms of the nourishing. Nature is, for her, is about nourishment, not just physical, but also emotional and aesthetic and spiritual. She has this bond with nature, and that bond doesn't mean anything in this Yaksha town. So she is horrified, and she's not terrified, though there is a distinction which we will come across a little later in the play. Red oleanders become important in this context because Nandini tells the king that her lover Ranjan sometimes calls her red oleander. Through the image of the of a mere flower, Rabindranath was trying to suggest an eco-ethical way of life that opposes mere pursuit of materialistic culture and progress. And the entire play, I think, hinges on Nandini for this particular reason, because Nandini is like the irresistible natural force. Now, at this point, I think I should mention that Nandini literally means daughter. And there had been a very long critical debate between two of the foremost Bengali literary critics for a very long time regarding whether this was derived from Strindberg's screenplay or not, because there we have the daughter who is the who is from heaven, so to say, and she is over here, and she experiences this materialistic life, and what the result is at the end for her and for the rest of the people in that society, the same soul kind of soul killing society that we find reflected over here. Now, Nandini might be the name might suggest a daughter, but Ranjan and Nandini, these two names have another kind of history. In Bangla, in the first draft, Rabindranath had thought of Khanjani. Hmm. Later, it turned into Shunanda at one point of time. And lastly, he settled on this name, Nandini. Now, the problem is that if we follow that, if we think, like one of the critics at least, that this is a derivation from Strindberg's play, then perhaps we will go very much wrong. Because Nandini over here and Ranjan, between the two of them, they are representing the quintessential man, woman, and man as forces of nature and forces of love. So, if we talk about Ranjan and Nandini together, then even the king realizes that this is something which he doesn't have access to. Now, it is a strange thing that they have a very interesting relationship. The king doesn't know how to control Nandini. Nandini cannot be controlled precisely, I think, because she is the power of nature embodied. And the king is trying to say that my life is incomplete because I do not have access to your kind of life. And the king says, shall I explain? Underground, there are blocks of stone, iron, and gold. There you have the image of strength. On the surface grows the grass, the flower blossoms. There you have the play of magic. I can extract gold from the fearsome depths of secrecy, but to wrest that magic from the near at hand, I fail. So there is a tone of world weariness which is not revealed to anybody else over there. The king only shares this kind of a sense of world weariness with Nandini. And this reminds us of some letters written by Rabindranath to C.F. Andrews. Rabindranath, at that point of time in 1920, the month of December in 1920, he was in New York. And C.F. Andrews was in Shantiniketan. And December is a very special month. In the Bangla version, it is about the month Posh, though in the English version, he had made it September and autumn. So Posh is about winter, but not the winter in the Western society, which is about death. The year comes to the end, and at the same time, it's like a coffin or a shroud that reminds us of death. It's not like that in Shantiniketan. So, from the USA, Rabindranath was writing about a similar weariness that he was feeling, and he wrote on 13 December 1920 from New York to C.F. Andrews that our seventh Posh festival at the ashram is near at hand. I cannot tell you how my heart is thirsting to join you in your festival. My prayer is growing every day more and more intense to get away from the dark tower of unreality, from this dance of death, trampling sweet flowers of life under its tread. So that is the way he was looking at New York at that point of time. So he had gone to New York in the first place to gather money, to get money anyhow for running Vishwabharati, the educational institution that he had created in the lap of nature. But he was heavily disappointed, not because he didn't get money, but he just couldn't breathe over there. On 17th December 1920, he wrote from New York to C.F. Andrews, just now I'm on the top story of a skyscraper to which the tallest of trees dare not send its whisper. But love silently comes to me, saying, when are you coming down to meet me on the green grass under the rustling leaves, where you have the freedom of the sky and sunlight and the tender touch of life's simplicity? I try to say something about money, but it sounds so ludicrous and yet so tragic that my words grow ashamed of themselves and they stop. Money deadened life, and Rabindranath was feeling it at first hand. Now, in order to talk about the Yakshapuri or the Yaksha town's acquisitiveness and the deadness of life over there, he had written in the preface to the Bengali version of the play called Raktokoropi about the significance of the figure of the single virtuous woman who comes to represent nature. And I quote, in the Treta Yoga, Ravana, the powerful king with ambition and greed, used to capture many gods and goddesses and make them work for his pleasure. But in the midst of his anti god prosperity, suddenly appeared a woman with the triumph of virtue. The Swarnalanka may indeed be traced in various places of the world and at various levels. That the great poet Valmiki knew about that undefined yet definite existence of Swarnalanka is beyond doubt. And it was Kobiguru, the first poet Valmiki, who had stolen my story by means of his imagination, because there are thousands of evidences that Swarnalanka is a thing precisely of our times. That makes this play and Rabindranath our contemporary in a way as well, I think. So, Rabindranath is critiquing and moving beyond that, criticizing the excesses of the materialistic civilization. And but because it is a very powerful materialistic civilization, that is why the woman is so very delicate who is pitted against it. And Nandini actually is trying, this is what Rabindranath was trying to say about Nandini. The entire play is an elaborate portrait of Nandini, a woman, She represents the joy of life, the simple beauty and pristine purity of nature. This was a statement about her later. And uh, the king recognizes this as a fact. He paradoxically says that he is feeling vulnerable and because Nandini is so strong. Now, how was this possible? The voice said that one day, Nandini, in a far off land, I saw a mountain as weary as myself. I could not guess that all its stones were aching inwardly. One night, I had heard a voice and a noise, and then later on, I realized the next morning that the entire mountain had disappeared into a chasm. It's like implosion. And after 9/11, we all know what implosion means, I think. So the king said, that made me understand how overgrown power crushes itself inwardly by its own weight. I see in you something quite opposite. The dance rhythm of the all, the rhythm lightens the enormous weight of matter. To that rhythm, the bands of stars and planets go about dancing from sky to sky like so many minstrel boys. This reminds us of Rabindranath's English version of the Gitanjali as well, because this is the same philosophy we find in the English Gitanjali. That there is a rhythm not only in terrestrial nature but in the entire cosmos, the cosmic harmony presented in Rabindranath's own manner in Gitanjali. So the king says, it is that rhythm, Nandini, that makes you so simple, so perfect. How small you are compared to me, yet I envy you. There are gifts that your little flower like fingers can easily reach, but not all the strength of my body. So at this point of time, I think that the Yakshapuri was turning away from the beauty of nature in order to accumulate wealth. But in the process, like the king, they had unwittingly imprisoned themselves in the barren, soul killing golden cage. Now, I was thinking of Vandana Shiva and Maria Mais, and I was thinking of ecofeminism. And there they identify freedom with loving interaction and productive work in cooperation with Mother Earth. And this idea of ecofeminism actually celebrates the most precious life force, which links them to each other, to other life forms, to the elements. It is this energy that enables women to love and to celebrate life. It is this magic which is contained within everything. That is what they talk about in ecofeminism. Now, Nandini's almost magical life force is repeatedly mentioned. As I said, some people don't understand her and call her a witch, but the ecofeminists would have understood it very clearly. They understood that this is about a tremendous spiritual power. And in the book Ecofeminism, we read the female principle permeating all things, the spirituality as the life force in everything, akin to magic, provides insight into the existence of these all embracing connections. Connections through which powerless women could influence powerful men. The ecological relevance of this emphasis on spirituality lies in the rediscovery of the sacredness of life. Rabindranath is not an avowed eco critic. He was not directly proclaiming all these things, but they are there in his writings. In Red Oleanders, he was presenting this problem, but there are shades of gray. It is not just a world divided into good and evil, black and white, between materialism and nature. It's not as simple as that. Because we have another woman in this play. She's called Chandra. She's a village woman turned miner. And she keeps on reminding us from time to time about the lost principle of the simple and harmonious life in nature. And she keeps on remembering during this season in the village, they are preparing for the harvest festival. Let's go home. But she is not permitted to go home, and nobody else is permitted either. So they what do? They send the Goshai. The Goshai is a preacher of the highest quality, and he soothes her, and she forgets about what she has lost. And the miners, the male miners, what do? They drink. And Chandra realizes, can't you see, Sir Governor? She says, do give us leave to go home, at least once. See our waving fields of barley corn in the year and the ample shade of our banyan tree with its hanging roots. I cannot tell you how our hearts ache. Don't you see that your men here work all day in the dark and in the evening steep themselves in the denser dark of drunkenness? But they're not permitted to go because this is a captive labor force who will get the gold otherwise if they go away. So they say that there is a character called Bishu who is supposed to be half crazy, but he is the sole brother to our Nandini. And he says, these gold nuggets are the drink, the solid drink of our gold king. Cups in hand, we forget we are chained to our limits. Gold blocks in hand, our master fancies he is freed from the gravitation of the commonplace and is soaring in the rarest of the upper heights. So it's about the gray area where, as the ecofeminists say, that there is no clear distinction between what we think of as the basic needs. Maybe the miners' so-called basic needs are being fulfilled because they work over here, and the basic needs are supposed to be food, shelter, and clothing. But at the same time, there is another kind of shall we say, need, and sometimes they're called the higher needs, so-called higher needs, such as freedom, knowledge, etc. And have said that actually there is no such artificial division. Culture is very much a part of the struggle, not only for subsistence and life, but also this life, this subsistence is made meaningful only if there is freedom. So yes, the king, towards the end of the play, we find things happening very rapidly because Nandini, one moment, is very happy that Ranjan is coming. Somehow she has received the message in some secret manner that Ranjan is coming to visit her, to join with her. Ranjan did arrive, but actually, not only Nandini, but the king was very eager to meet Ranjan as well. But the governors had their own strategies of getting getting things done by the king. So they did not tell the king who Ranjan was. And Ranjan, in his own way, he was also irresistible. So he speaks in his own way, and the king couldn't accept it, and the king destroyed him. You know, out of that iron lattice place where the king is lurking behind that, sometimes the human husk comes out, and Ranjan is broken, and he dies, and the husk comes out, and Nandini gets to know about it. And the king realizes what he has been made to do. He realizes that he is inside a cage, not only of his own making, he is inside a cage, a golden cage, nevertheless, a cage. But this cage is also made by his own bureaucracy. It should remind us of the story of Frankenstein. What you create might eventually imprison you or punish you. So when the king and Nandini both realize what has been done, they come together in a way. Nandini says, "I'm going." She goes away in order to confront the governor who had done this whole thing. And the king says that I must come out of my iron lattice uh, place, and he comes out and he also moves. So the one thing that is left behind by Nandini, presumably she goes on to meet her death in the hands of the governor and his lackeys. But before she leaves, the only thing that they could find lying on the ground was the red oleander Kishore had given her. So this is her mark. And this is now perhaps drenched in her blood as well. And the king says, I must break this whole edifice of falsehood, of material reality, this material reality which is a falsehood down. And he also marches along with Bishu and the other miners to break this down. So, this is what Red Oleander stands for. Thank you.
Thank you, Debarati. That was so interesting. And we were so engrossed in it that when you wound up, it was almost as if, we were waking up. At least that's what I felt. I was waking up from this world that you had created with the help of your talk. Right. So what we can do is we can ask everybody to switch on their videos and come onto the screen, and let's have some kind of a discussion or exchange of ideas. Yes, everyone, please switch on your videos now. There you are, Ritushri. And we've had a good audience, incidentally, a good number this time, 54. So that speaks volumes for your popularity and Tagore's popularity. Yes, Debarati?
Definitely Tagore's popularity, because I didn't let anyone know, as you know. Hmm.
Well, there were wheels working.
See, in Shantiniketan, there is this ashram Sangit. Wherever we are in the entire world, we come together in the name of Shantiniketan and Vishwabharati. So perhaps it is definitely in Tagore's name.
There is this person whose name is Himraj, but it doesn't look like Himraj. That is you, huh? All right. So any questions? Anything you'd like to ask Debarati? And the others also, please switch on your videos so that we can have a discussion, so that we can see each other's faces also. Yes, come on. It's such an interesting story, and Debarati has raised so many points. And initially, when she began, I thought she's going to, it's going to be one of those magic realism stories. And how do you relate it to the contemporary scene? But then, as we went along, as the lecture proceeded, then, things were clearer. And then she talked about defamiliarization. She talked about, the theme song, Nandini's theme song. So, what was the theme song, Debarati? What are the words? Tell us again.
It is about, hark, 'tis autumn calling, come, oh come away. Her basket is heaped with corn, drunken with the perfumed wine of wind. The sky seems to sway among the shivering corn, its sunlight trailing on the fields, etc. So that's the song.
How does it fit into the play?
It fits into the play because they're making a distinction between the dead gold and the living gold of the ripe corn.
Okay, right. And the dead gold is
The
materialism.
gold, the dead gold is whatever they're
Gold
getting out
is
of the gold mines. Yes,
whatever is being hoarded by the king.
that would stand for the deadening effect of materialism.
Even the names that have been chosen, Kubera, for instance, Kubera and Yakshapuri.
I should explain a little over here, because later on Rabindranath said that there are two kinds of wealth that we think of. Regarding one kind of wealth, we mentioned Kubera, who is like the Yaksha. The whole idea of Yaksha is there in Kubera, but it is without Sri, it is without prosperity, it is without welfare. And when we talk about wealth with welfare, that is what we find in, for example, Sriniketan. Not just Shantiniketan, but Sriniketan is a part of Vishwabharati, and Sriniketan was named after this Sri. Sri is another name for the goddess Lakshmi, where it is not just about wealth, but it is also about welfare.
Okay. You also mentioned Strindberg. So what is the connection with Strindberg? Can you tell us again?
There is this dream play of Strindberg in which there is this sort of divine creature. I mean, she comes from the god of heavens in a way, and this woman is called, uh, in their language, the term means daughter. So she doesn't know anything about our earth, and when she is trying to relate to situations or people, she thinks that if I get married to a human being, it would be possible for me to understand it, etc., etc. And she does get married, but then she finds out that it makes things difficult for her, not easy to understand at all. And towards the end of the play, the dream play, so to say, uh, we find that she too has to die. I mean, she has to sacrifice herself for the society in another way. So, one of the critiques had said, uh, he is called Pratap Narayan, and he had declared that Rabindranath's work is derivative, and because Rabindranath tried to present it in his own way for the Bengali audience and also the British audience in English, etc., it became very obscure. That was one of the kinds of, shall we say, criticisms leveled against Tagore, not only in Bengal or India, but also in the UK at that point of time, in Europe at that point of time, that Maeterlinck, Strindberg, Tagore, why are they so abstract in the way they're presenting their plays? These are plays about concepts. These are plays about the mind, about understanding the situation. These are plays which are very difficult to present on the stage. But even that has been done. In 1954, Shambhu Mitra and Tripti Mitra, through Bohurupi, their troupe, had presented it, and it was a huge success. It is perhaps one of the most famous performances in world history in one way or the other.
Display, Red
And
Oleanders.
yes, in
Okay.
Bangla, Rakta Korobi. And in Shantiniketan, a few years ago, I have watched another very powerful person performing the role of Nandini, and that was Choiti Ghoshal. You might have heard of Dagghar. Dagghar is the post office.
Okay.
Another play by Tagore. Choiti
Yeah.
Ghoshal in her childhood had played the young Amol, and now she has grown up as a mature lady. She became a very beautiful, very powerful Nandini in the middle of a field in Shantiniketan a few years ago. In a, it was an evening performance, an open field. So yes, it has been performed successfully. It is not that obscure actually.
Okay. We have these other people on the screen. Would they like to ask any questions? We still have another 5 or 7 minutes before we wind up. Dr. Aditya, this is the first time we've seen you in our session. Would you like to make a comment?
Not as of now, ma'am. I joined you, mean to say, this is not my first time, but I and my students are joining here.
Oh, how nice.
Yes,
That's so
yes,
nice.
already. I used to circulate these things into the group so they can have interaction with or they can pursue the things.
Mhm.
Thank you, ma'am, for arranging this talk all the time.
It's one way of getting together and sharing our ideas, isn't it?
Of course, ma'am, it is.
And I must tell you, and I must tell all the people who haven't switched on their videos also, that Mellow is doing a lot of things, and the target is these young scholars, who still have their careers before them. They still have a lot, good many years left of, of their service, and we're giving them a platform so that they can build on. So as I told you, we are engaged in a lot of projects. One has just been accepted by Springer. That book will be coming out, and there are others in the pipeline also. And then the conferences that we have, even the conferences, we try and spread the word. And we always have a decent crowd, decent in numbers too.
Sure.
So Well, this is a platform that if you want, you can make use of it and it can take you places. You've seen a lot of our the scholars have done very well. All right. So Sunena is nodding very wisely. Sunena, you have anything to say? And Neeraj, you got late. I noticed that. Anything to say? Come on. These youngsters on the screen, I want your opinion. And the others who are hiding, please
Yes,
come
ma'am.
on to the
Good
screen.
evening, ma'am. I don't have much to contribute today because I joined late because of unavoidable reasons. But what I could hear was about ecofeminism and Vandana Shiva. So I have read the book and I'm interested in how ecofeminism is applicable to this text, Read Oleanders. I'm quite interested, but because I could not attend much of the session. So I would watch it on YouTube now and would try to make sense of how ecofeminism is woven into it.
Yes, Debarati.
Yes, it's very simple because the central character is a simple rural woman called Nandini who reminds these miners, gold miners, of what they have lost, their lost way of life, which was very close to nature earlier. And now they're close to nature because a mine is also part of nature. But this nature is soul killing, whereas the nature outside this Yaksha town is the world of the living nature, the crops and the trees and the beauty of nature, the simplicity of nature. So, in that way, in ecofeminism, we learn about not only the fulfillment of the needs, but also something beyond that, a spiritual affinity, the feeling of the way we feel akin to nature. So, this is being celebrated long before ecofeminism came into being by Tagore in this play, I think. So, that was my thesis.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else on the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
It's not a question, ma'am. But then I just wanted to tell that, well, we have actually introduced this play for our master students this time, ma'am. So
Oh,
it
you
has,
have.
yes, ma'am.
That's good.
But it has yet to be done, ma'am. It has yet to be completed. But then many of those master students and then these PhD students too, they have joined today. Roshan sir dropped them messages in different groups. I dropped them in the group in which these first semester students they happen to be. I do not have any question as such. So I really liked your talk as such. And then of course we are going to use it as a resource. And then, of course, the oleander, as we look at it, right, they become a symbol of freedom and resistance against this oppressive, what I would say, industrial exploitation. And if you very well told how Tagore uses a natural image, we have this natural image of a flower here. To critique this dehumanizing this force of modern industrial society. One thing that I was thinking over, it was like why did Tagore actually choose gold mining? And why not coal mining? Because it is coal which directly adds to what I would call this global warming, because CO2 is released worldwide. So, well, this is not obviously this is something which the author has the prerogative. But then, yeah, even when I think about gold also adds to this very problem of climate change, because there is this irreversible, I would say, ecological damage which is caused by this as well. So, not a question, ma'am. I was just wondering about it because
Yes, but I'll answer this because half my answer is going to be serious and half of it is going to be very naughty. So the serious part is about that during this period, actually Tagore and Gandhi were having a feud, conceptual feud in terms of what to do about industrialization, what to do about Swadeshi, what to do about the role that the Indians should play, and people like Tagore and Gandhiji should play in this context, the political context, the social context, the uplift that was required, etc., in all these ways. So there is a huge debate between the two of them. And ultimately, it emerged that it is supposed that at one point of time, Gandhiji had said that we want to return to rural India, etc., etc. And industrialization is something which is uh, which is not to be done away with, but at best, it is a kind of a necessary evil. Right? We all remember that. But Tagore was not saying that at all. Tagore was saying that industry and progress are all very necessary, even in the context of what we have in India, in the sense that if the Western world has made a lot of progress, and if they're in a position to establish themselves in this way, then we should learn something from them. We should not permit industry or materialism to control our lives, to be in the driving seat. But at the same time, we just can't afford to keep our eyes shut. So I think that this is one reason why, metaphorically, he is talking about gold and not coal. Coal would have been very literal, very direct, and he is a poet after all. And poets do not want to make things that literal, I think. This is the serious part and the naughty part now. Do you know that Prince Darukanath Tagore, the very illustrious and once upon a time a very rich and highly favored person from India in not only Britain but in other parts of Europe as well, this grandfather of Rabindranath Tagore was not only a zamindar, not only a landowner, but he was the first Indian banker as well. He was also a the owner of, mind you, I'm being naughty, he was an indigo planter. He was also the owner of one of the first coal mines in Bengal, the Chotanagpur Plateau. So, see, I'm being very naughty.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, fine. Got it, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. May I?
Yes. Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Bipasha. Thank you
Good
so
evening.
much for your good evening, ma'am. Thank you so much for your talk, ma'am. I was listening to it. It was so important and so, we actually learned a lot. Ma'am, now that you were talking about Rabindranath Tagore, I just had this one idea that came to my mind. Rabindranath Tagore's position vis-a-vis Gandhiji or other people of India in terms of many things, his societal, political, ideological standing. Only today I was told by someone that the English department people are very they were monkey, they are tricksters, वो झूठ बोलते हैं, वो जलेबी बनाते हैं, and the reference that was given was Rabindranath Tagore. Say कि Rabindranath Tagore has said
How,
that in. So I just wanted to know
how,
from you
I mean,
what was
how
Rabindranath
did
Tagore's
Rabindranath
position.
Tagore fit into this kind of jalebi discourse?
No, what was his opinion about the English education in India, ma'am? If we can.
Well, let me share this with you. He used to teach English literature not only to the school students over here in Shantiniketan, but also to the university students. He not
He was
only taught Bengali, but he was a teacher of English literature. And the way he would teach Keats, for example, the way he would teach it remained with his students long after they had become very famous people in their own right.
okay.
And
Thank
he
God,
had
I'm
written
happy.
English primers. Mind you, Rabindranath
Mhm.
is not only the person who had written Bengali primers for the students, he had also written English primers and guidelines as to how translation should be done. It's another matter that he didn't follow his own rules, but he wrote it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Anybody else who would like to speak up? No? All right. So with that, we are going to bring the session to a close. And before we bring it to a close,